are going to
ladies and
just
gentlemen,
move
I'm going to hand
in
you over to
the one and only Brian Gatens from Dark Zone Podcast, the world famous Brian Gatens. I'm going to hand straight over and shut up.
I'm starting my clock here, folks. We're going to a max of 30 minutes for our discussion this morning. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting. I am honored and I am grateful that I've been given the chance to participate, and I look forward to the talk we're going to have today. I do want to point out that the conversation we're going to have today, and I want to thank Molly and Lars and Warley for being here. This is very often most likely the beginning of a conversation, not really the end of it. We want to get some feedback from our three panelists combined with the entire race community about the state of the sport today. I will say personally, logging onto this meeting today has been absolutely delightful. It's been a bleak, cold winter here in New Jersey. I mean, to Lars, it's like a summer's day, but it's cold here in New Jersey, and knowing I was going to see all of you made the day a lot warmer. So I hope that everybody is having a fantastic winter. Looking forward to our upcoming race season in the Northern Hemisphere. First question, I want to kick over to our friend Molly. Molly, as you know, is from New Zealand, a member of Team Fear Youth. She's been kind enough to join us on this call today with a busy work schedule. Our topic is all about adventure racing. Are we thriving or surviving? And Fear Youth is a good place to start. Fear Youth is indicative of New Zealand's commitment to youth development and sports. So Molly, if you want to begin our conversation today, could you talk to us a bit about your experience as a young racer and what enabled you to be as successful as you are, both the formal things that you went through as well as the informal expectations you had inside your community?
Yeah, so I guess in New Zealand, the youth pathway to adventure racing is really accessible and easy through high school. So that is when I was roughly 13 to about 17. There is local adventure races, New Zealand secondary school adventure races, South Islands, very accessible. And once you, we did them in high school, and once you kind of come first, second or third in the national events, and into, you go to a big Hillary Challenge, which it's called, and that's when 12 teams from New Zealand compete against each other, basically for like the high school national champs, basically, up north. And I guess that's what got me started into adventure racing. Yes, it was only like the Rogaine stage was only 2 days, and you had to mandatory sleep during those 2 days. So you're not allowed to go through the night. But I guess that kind of makes it easier for us because we're only young. So then kind of from there's lots and lots of races locally, and they can range from 3 hours to 3 days mainly. And I guess because my family is quite adventurous and outdoorsy, and that's what really got me into adventure racing. So kind of from there, you start meeting people your same age, because you're only versing the same age group. And then from there, we kind of was like, well, why don't we enter God Zone? So that's when we entered God Zone when we were 18.
Of course, you just enter God Zone. That's what you do. You just happen to sign up and see how it goes.
Yeah, and then I guess from there, that's when you start learning about world champs and kind of ARWS races and how you can do them to win a free entry and stuff like that. So I guess that's where my love for the sport very young came from.
So clearly, as an individual, you grew up inside the Hillary challenges there. There were cultural expectations for you, formally inside your schooling and formally inside your family. Now that you've been doing this for several years and you've raced internationally and domestically, what is your take on the state of adventure racing in New Zealand and then what you see in the larger culture? What signs, what signals are you seeing about either growth or no growth?
Yeah, it's tricky because I guess the youth in New Zealand is quite a hot topic at the moment. I mean, lots of youth are getting into adventure racing, and even me, I do quite a bit of volunteering at adventure races, and it's all about youth because I guess if you're not having that next generation coming through, the old guys are going to die some stage, so they're going to get kicked off, and then there's kind of no one else coming through. So I guess for New Zealand, that's a really good sign that there's youth coming through. And yeah, personally, it's really cool to see that there is that opportunity here. But I guess overseas, I mean, New Zealand is such a little country that you, for example, I did a talk yesterday to about 70 people, and most people had heard of adventure racing. Whereas if you go overseas, it's a sport that not many people know about. So I guess just having that consistency of keeping those younger athletes motivated and determined to keep racing. And I guess it's harder in countries overseas to have that reach because the country is so big. So I guess some more, I don't know, more, it's because it's more word of mouth. If you've, if your dad does adventure racing, or your mum or your auntie, that's when you've heard about it. Whereas here, you see it on the news, you see it everywhere. You are racing through little towns, and the whole town will know that this race is coming through. And yeah, I guess that's really helpful for us. Yeah.
So clearly, a benefit is the smaller side of New Zealand, the activity, outdoor-based culture that you have there. I have one more question for you, then I'm going to go over to Lars. So the question I have for you is this: is not everybody does it though. What barriers exist that race directors, race organizers should be thoughtful about if they want to help the sport grow?
Yeah, I guess for me, what is really good is we had local grassroots races that were cheap and affordable and didn't go for 7 days straight. That is scary to enter.
Right.
We had, for example, there's a race called the WTF here in New Zealand, and that lasts like 2.5, 3 days. And they're hard races. You learn the skills, you develop like basically survival skills. And I guess that's why we're so good at when things get hard, and we're good at navigating, where we can survive out there for a long time with hardly anything. And I feel like those grassroots cheap races that isn't, you can, for youth example, you can go to school on Monday morning and not be completely destroyed, is a really cool thing, because you can do many of them in the year, and you also don't have that pressure of, well, I can't enter that because it's a massive race. Like, there's no media. It's just you go out there with a few mates and learn those skills, develop them, so you're confident enough to go to a bigger race. Yeah.
So clearly, the large part of the thriving nature of New Zealand is because they create low barriers to entry in terms of the cost to do it, the social expectation to do it too, the fact that you could do it inside the context of a larger life, right? You're not dedicating an entire weekend to it, you're not dedicating all that to it. So therefore, putting all those things in place, and this is good for the race directors on the call, that if you want to thrive, make it easy to do it, make it fun for the younger people to do it, focus on the youth, and eventually they will grow into the older people who eventually, as you pointed out, are going to die eventually. But when they're young, have them do that. So Molly, thank you so much for being here. We love work you do in New Zealand. We love that Fear Youth is so powerful and strong. We know that you are busy working. I think it's morning where you are. So I'm going to go to Lars now. And if you have to leave, Molly, I want to say thank you on behalf of the IARA for being here today. And we hope to see you soon at a race. So thank you, Molly.
Thank you so much, Brian. Nice to see you guys.
Lars, kicking it over to you. And it's worth pointing out, Lars, as we go to you, that you were sending pictures earlier today of you up in the mountains before you were heading home to do this. So thank you for rubbing that in for those of us that are sitting in the Dark Zone World Headquarter bedroom studios. Lars, your perspective. You heard Molly talk about what things like in New Zealand, the thriving that she's seeing, the barriers that exist and things like that. From your perspective, for what's going on with Denmark and the Northern European dynamic, what is your feeling about surviving versus thriving?
It's always hard to keep the wheels going on in a country and keep the adventure race society going. I've been raised since 2004, so now 22 years. So I've seen a lot of race directors come, but I've also seen a lot of adventure races go, and the same with organizers. So the big dilemma right now is that some generation are leaving, and now it's about time to find new generation to take over, especially on the organizer side. We have had many years in Denmark and around Scandinavia with a lot of good races in Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. But last couple of years in Sweden, it has gone really much down, and we slowly start to see the same in Denmark right now, since the organizers are quitting or doing other things or getting too old to organize. So our mission right now in Denmark and starts also to be in Sweden is that new organizers have to get used to organize and get the help to start organize. So now with the Danish Federation, we have a lot of good tools and also some experienced people that can help new organizers on the way. So that is like the new program that we are doing.
So you talk about that, and I appreciate Molly's talk. Molly approached it from the perspective of the racer, right, and the youth racer, and barrier entry being low cost getting into it, a lot of fun like that. I like very much how you shifted away from the racer, bringing them in, and going over to the organizer perspective, right? Because you need organizers to do it. So in your experience and how organizers are beginning to sort of fade away and some are coming in, what can the sport be doing to encourage those to organize races, to go through the time, the effort, the trouble? What is a successful formula that people follow to enjoy organizing?
I think most of all, it's about enjoying to race and enjoying to see new places. But you have to understand if nobody organizes, it will not be possible to go anywhere. So it's about making a culture that it's cool to contribute. So it's not only necessary to race, and it's really cool to see many teams race really hard and train and everything, but the whole culture and the whole sport would not be able to be here if there was nobody contributing, either in making trainings, either in making lectures, either in organizing clubs, federations, and all the work, or being an organizer. So all of it is glued together. Race hard, train smart, and then organize and make it cool to contribute. So I think it's really that way. One thing that we have done in Denmark to promote a little bit about organizing is, of course, we have the Danish Championship, where the award goes to the fastest team. But we actually also have another award that is called the Golden Toe System. And in this sport, the toe system is pulling your team members forward. But in this sense, it's about pulling the whole sport forward in the toe system. So having an organizer prize that goes to the organizers or the people that have contributed a lot to the community, I think that is as well important as it is with a championship.
So that's a very valid point you make there, is besides just choosing the fastest team and then when there was a championship, you've created a social benefit. You've created a public recognition of the organizer that is doing their best to bring the sport forward. That is more than just putting on races. You mentioned lectures, clubs, training sessions, things like that. So aside from the racing itself, where do you encourage organizers and national federations to put their attention to help the sport thrive?
I think it's mostly also to bring in the culture and the awareness that it's not only needed to race, but that this is still a small sport and will always be a small sport. And the small sport could never survive if nobody is pulling the train forward.
Right.
So I think that's a key factor to understand in the whole scheme of racing. And I think everybody in this call, they love racing and they love exploring new places in one way or another. And we want to continue this as long as we live.
When a person no longer organizes a race, when they decide they no longer want to do it, what do you think drives them away from that? What causes to make them no longer want to do it?
It's really hard to organize and be behind the scenes. Sometimes there is a cliche in the sport that the hardest part is getting to the start line. But actually, if you have tried to organize or be behind the scene, you rather want to race because it's not as hard as it is to organize. So I think over the years you get more gray hair by organizing than racing. Both is equally good, but I think it's a thing that has to be divided into all parts of your life, and everybody is going through different life circles, family, house, job, and so on. And this is all our free time on the side. So I think everything should be put into place. And I think it's great that all the organizers kind of before they step back put the torch to watch new people to take over the work that they have done, so they can benefit from some of their experience, so not everybody has to make the wheel again. So I think that's the most important, and where the circle is complete is when you have created something or you have a lot of experience as an organizer or working in a federation. Before you step down, you kind of head the torch towards the next coming people. And I think that is kind of makes the circle complete.
I think you're right about that too. From our experience here with USARA under Garrison's leadership and now Brett Friedland's leadership, they created a cultural expectation that aspiring race directors are more than welcome to reach out to a panel of USARA senior members who would talk with them about logistics, maps, working with permitting agencies, working with sponsors, partners, things like that. So to your point, Lars, the idea that the larger organization inside a country, whether it be an association or a federation, can work together with aspiring race directors to make their path easier to put those races on. Because to your point, organizing it is much easier to be a racer than to be a race director. I've absolutely come to believe that. And I've seen more meltdowns on the race director side than on the racer side during races. And so I definitely agree with you that we form our own structure, our own help, and that's how we bring people along, especially people who are newer to the sport, who have done the racing, have really enjoyed it, and want to organize themselves. If we want to thrive, we need to create pathways for those people to be race directors and organizers as easily as possible. Not easily, but as easily as possible. So far we've heard from Molly, who talked about how we get racers into the sport, right? Low barrier to entry, low cost, make it fun, let them go to school on Monday morning, have that in there. You talk about what race directors can do, take care of each other, work together, having the Golden Toe Award, TOW, right? You pull the entire sport along. So there we have the racer and the race director. Lars, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. It is not lost on me that you are identifying Greenland as your home country. I want you to know that as somebody who's sitting in New Jersey in America, that we are thinking so much of you and the way the world is today. I hesitate to lean too politically in one single direction, but I have an audience here. I want to say it right now, is that America overwhelmingly loves you, Denmark, and your country. And pay no attention to the voices that only want to divide us and push us apart, because it is absolutely, I don't want to use an obscenity, so I won't use it. But I just want to say to you right now that we are on your side. When I say me, I mean me and many of my countrymen. So I apologize for going there, but I had to say, I saw Greenland, Lars, and we love you and your people very, very much. So please take that away. Thank you,
Really
Lars.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hang in there. Shifting now to Brazil. Brazil, as we put this panel together, we have Warley Costa coming in from Brazil. Warley is a fantastic race organizer himself down there. When we were discussing people to get involved here, his name was one of the first ones to pop up when it came to South America. So Warley, thank you for being part of the panel today.
Hi, Brian.
I don't know you as well as I know Molly and I know Lars, and I'm happy that we are solving that problem right now. But sitting here now and being 20 minutes into our conversation, you hear what Molly had to say and you hear what Lars had to say. What can you contribute, and what are your thoughts on thriving versus surviving?
Okay, so first of all, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to have our Brazilian community represented here. Before I go to your question, I would like to comment about Molly's words. I would love to have the same culture here in Brazil, like they have in New Zealand. They have the adventure races at school. They have adventure races as part of their day-to-day life, right? You guys know here in Brazil, everybody plays soccer, every family, every parent, everybody can play soccer, but just a few people are part of the adventure race community. We are growing, but I would love to have the same, let's say, culture here in Brazil, but it's not our reality. We are also a big country in terms of size, compared like New Zealand and Australia. This is one of our challenges to manage the sport in a large country. We have 26 states in the country. So in every place we have different race organizers, different community. They have their own needs in each region of the country. So I'm part of the national body, the CBCA, the Brazilian National Federation, let's say. And to your point, and also to Lars' point, the way that we try to work from a national body perspective, we try to facilitate the path to the race organizers and to the local federations. Because here we work in a model that we have ourselves from CBCA from the top, looking at country level, right? And we have some local bodies or local federations that are supporting the race organizers in each state, right? So the way that we try to contribute to the sport development, we as a national governing body, we try to help them to identify opportunities to get funding to support the sport development, because we have, in every country, but we have very complex laws here in the country, but we at the same time we have very good sports programs to get funding. So, but sometimes the race organizers and the federation, they don't know how to get there, how to prepare or to structure a project to be able to receive some funding to support their races and their local championships. So most of the time we are working from a, let's say, country level, from our body level, to support them, providing documents, license, and paper. Most of the time we do paperwork for them that will validate them, that will allow them to get this or to put their hands on this funding, on this money at local level. So when I say we, the National Federation, we are not organizing races. We provide support to the race organizers and to the local federation. We try to facilitate their lives, right? So this is how we play today to sport, right? Where it's the best way that we can contribute. It's not, we try to avoid to, we have some rules. We have our national rules for the sport. We have I'll not say rule, our guidelines that we share with the local organizers, the local races. But most of the time we don't do any interference on their race. We just provide the guideline and try to support them. Yeah, in summary.
So that's a really important point you bring out, right? Because as we talked about with Molly and Lars, the racer and the organizer, what you're saying in Brazil, what CBCA does is that there's actually a level above that, where when it comes to permitting and it comes to funding in the different agencies, you provide that really administrative, technical support form filling out, making connections, and that enables the race director to continue forward. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly how we play, let's say this way. Because we have been successful. We have tried different models of national championship from the past years. Some were successful, some were not very successful. So, but from the last 3 or 4, since the last 3 years, we start to play more on this way to provide more support instead of have our organization, our entity organizing the race. And we have
Yeah,
this
you aren't
seminar.
putting actual races on. You're not, but
Yeah.
you're creating pathways for race directors to more easily put on races.
Yeah, and we are growing. It's a tricky question. Your question is a very good question. If we are thriving or we are just surviving, I was thinking about that, and I can say that we are thriving. Okay, we have something around 35 to 50 races per year in the country. I think it's a good number. We have, if we look to the world ranking, we have 3 teams at the top 12 worldwide. We have 5 teams at the top 10 of the South America ranking. So we are growing. We have very good teams at the top, let's say, some very strong teams. We have some new people joining the sport. Some race organizers, they are focused on developing new athletes for the sport. But we still need to connect all we need to connect our community, and it's something that we are trying to put in place is a kind of national platform, I mean, to manage the sport, because we have different in each state or each organized, they use their own, they follow our guidelines, but we can do it better if we have a platform to support. And the same way that I think we should go in a global level, we should create a adventure race platform and it's what IARA is trying to create. And I can see that we're gonna be, we need to be patient because it will take time. Look, sometimes we feel uncomfortable that things are not progressing, but it will take time. The sports that are now famous, like surf and others, that they took a long time to arrive to the point that they are today. So we need to be patient, but if we are able to create a global platform and local, in a country level, a global platform to manage the sport, we're gonna be successful in a midterm, I think.
Yeah, and it's good that as you reflected on the topic that we have here, the idea of thriving versus surviving, you point to that data that you have about how successful your top end teams are, and along the way, how many races are taking part in Brazil. I think it's good to point out that what the Brazil model really probably speaks a lot to what IARA is doing too, which is not organizing races, not putting on races, but rather creating an environment in which race directors have an easier path to putting on races. And if we want the sport to thrive, if we want to grow well, we should do our best. We, the capital WE, all of us on this call, all of us, and I've seen this in different races, we should make it as easy as possible to get a racer to the start line. And we make it easy as possible by helping the race director put the race on with as little distraction or problems as possible. We're about 2 minutes away, Warley, from wrapping up our 30-minute session here. I promised I would stop at 30 minutes. As you were kind enough to be here, kind enough to wait to go, give us 1 more minute on your hopes for the sport going forward, both in Brazil and around the world. And then I'll turn it back over to you, Cormac. Take it away, Warley.
Yes, again, so thanks for having me here. And I think we are going at the right direction, okay? From a sports perspective, it's good to see here that we have almost 50 people from different places to get discussing the topic. It's a very good starting point. If we think 2 years ago, IARA was just an idea, and now we are a group of several countries going in the same direction. So I have very good expectations. We need to continue on this way. And as I mentioned, it will take time. We need to be patient. It will take time. We are not dedicated to it. We have our personal lives, our responsibilities in other areas. So it brings some difficulties to the process, but we need to continue we need to keep going. So we need to keep following the trail, let's say.
Very well Adventure Race said, Warley. Just keep going forward, right? That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here.
We're gonna find the checkpoint.
Find it. You keep moving. As long as I don't have the maps, we'll find them. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Warley. Thank you, IARA, for giving me the chance to take part in the AGM today. It's my honor to be here. For all of my friends on this call today, I cannot wait to see you in person or online at your races. Have a wonderful 2026, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Cormac, back to you.
Great stuff, Brian. Thank you. And to all the contributors. Really, really insightful stuff there. And I agree with everything that I've heard. I think some really good ideas there as well, and I think using a forum to just talk and be honest about where the sport is at and what are the things that we can do to actually make it better and to make it thrive, I think is it's really important. I'm just going to try something slightly off script, but it's going to help me for a bit later on. I'm just going to throw a poll up here and see what everyone else is thinking, whether the sport is thriving or surviving. I'm going to try and just launch this poll. Okay, let's just see if we can do this. Let's see what you all think. You want to try and vote? Come on, be honest now. All done? Surviving, thriving. It's a close one. Okay. Okay, it's okay, excellent, excellent. Let's just have a look and see. So the surviving just pips. It's close, but there's a kind of a general consensus that yeah, we've got work to do to make it to make it to move more into the thriving zone, you know. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Okay, good stuff. I'm going to close that down. Thank you for that.